Why does this dress pattern have 3 sleeve holes? That's a really great question. And that's what I'm going to answer for you today. Because in this video, I'm going to explore why in the world they would have made a 3 armhole dress, when in actuality, I really think a 2 armhole dress probably is a lot easier and less confusing. Which side is the back? And I think it generally fits nicer, but you know what? That's not what we're here for today. We're here to see why in the world McCall's in the 1960s decided to make the wraparounder. The term wraparounder was trademarked by McCall's in the late 1960s. It's described as a one-piece wraparound dress with 3 armholes that may be wrapped at back or front. But the idea of a 3 armhole dress is nothing new. Both Simplicity and Butterick had also issued their own versions of these patterns. And if the little ones were feeling left out, McCall's also issued a child-size version, so you could match your mom. Editing Stephanie coming to you live, realizing that McCall's actually did a reproduction of this one. Right there. But one of the most interesting things about this is that instead of being in some type of like flowy or soft material, they chose violence because the first fabric listed is denim. And I don't know if you've actually felt 1960s / early 70s denim. It's real stiff. And now you see, I have another tertiary question here. Tertiary, secondary, unknown. Is this pattern faster to make than the walkaway dress? Yes, that walkaway dress. You know, the one that I accidentally started a whole friggin' month of back in 2023 and has garnered millions of views over everyone's channel and will confuse fashion historians until the end of time. I mean, not really, because, you know, the internet lasts forever. So I'm sure they'll figure it out. But truly, can I make this faster than I believe my just a little over 4 hours? Challenge accepted. Let's go. Now, in case you were wondering, in my evening gown dress, I unfolded a factory folded pattern from the late 30s, early 40s, and that sort of hurt my soul. The potential is unleashed. Ah, don't lose a piece first thing, Canada. However, one from the 1960s, I don't mind nearly as much. You're a fresh battery. Did you just turn off? Okay, there's only one angle, fine. So yes, this pattern from 1967, bam, 67, has never been used in a bust 46 until today. So that is why I'm about to iron this pattern, because am I a bust 46? No, I'm not. Thank you for asking though. I am a bust 50, which means that I need to take this up 4 inches. I need to take this. We're not done. This up 4 inches. So let me just tell you that I am going to be ironing it flat so that way, you know, there's no wrinkly bits. Then I'm gonna start by pinning down a little bit at the beginning.
Wrong.
And then I will be unpinning that and slowly moving it over just a little.
Not this time.
Because I am, one, not going to trace this thing onto new tissue. I am also not going to be a chaos gremlin and cut it into pieces.
Wrong.
Because this fabric is going to be stiffer than a board. Wow, the ironing isn't even working because this is so big. Hilarious. We're just gonna get it vaguely good enough here. That's really what we're gonna do. Okay, this giant thing is now done. Then I decided to do a pattern tissue fitting and do this voiceover to get rid of all of the god-awful crinkle noises that were the pattern rubbing against my microphone. Which really doesn't go well when you haven't cut out the armholes to the pattern. Now I get to turn myself into a burrito. So while I did give it an attempt, it did not work. Gosh, I think I'm gonna use an ironing board. God, don't knock the iron over though. You know, on second thought, this might not work. But not to be defeated, I did give it a second try on, and sort of figured out the actual measurements that I needed to make this whole pattern fit me. Yeah, I think the front and the back need a 1/2 inch. And I think I'm gonna call it at that. This could end poorly for me, but you know what? It's gonna be a quick and dirty garment, so I'm not super worried about it. Don't worry, I am gonna make the pockets too. And let's go ahead and take a break in my bathroom with the sponsor of today's video, Suri. Now, in case you haven't heard of Suri, they are an aluminum body, dentist approved toothbrush for a gentle and powerful clean. Now you see, I am actually really bad about remembering to charge my toothbrush. In fact, I had a previous toothbrush that was AA batteries, and can I tell you that instead of putting in new batteries so that it would work, I just used it with dead batteries as a normal toothbrush for probably about 8 months longer than I should have. But this is where Suri came in to save the day, because this does not need to be charged for an entire month. So if you're like me and you forget to bring your charger, don't worry, this battery has got you. And now I have a question for you. Do you brush for 2 minutes? Really, honestly, think about that right now. Do you brush your teeth for a solid 2 minutes? Because I didn't. Not until Suri. Because the thing is, this toothbrush has little haptics that vibrate every 30 seconds, so you know when the 2 minutes is actually up. Because that was my problem. I would be brushing for like 45 seconds, think I was good and move on, and then they'd get into the dentist and be like, well, wrong. So when you find yourself in that moment, I can tell my teeth are cleaner on a daily basis. Like, these pearly whites actually feel pearly white, and I did not go to the dentist today. So if you want to join me in the mouth revolution, use my code Stephanie15 for an extra 15% off of your Suri, and you'll see why I love it so much. And now, I think we need to get back to this project. Now, let me make one thing really clear. There's been some time between that clip and this clip, and I sat there and thought about my free will as a sewist. And you can put me in a pot of flames right now, but I am gonna cut straight down the middle, the center front line and the center back line, so that I can just pin it wider just on those 2 places. I know what I said, and then I changed my mind. What? Because listen, it's my pattern, I'm the one using it, and that's what works best for me in this moment. I'm not technically hurting it. You can make it again in your size. It's fine. I'm just gonna do it. Sir? Insniftigator? Hi. Hi. Oh, it's close up moosh. It's moosh up close. And 2. So, you know, I guess that means I gotta start this thing. This is a horrible angle for this. In 3, 2, 1, boop. Go! Can she do it faster than the walk-away dress? Only time will tell. Now let me tell you how to not do what I'm just doing right here. When you cut pieces into 3s, you should never start with an end piece. No, never. Because that straight of grain, yes, that pin right there is all that I have to go off of, because I forgot to extend the straight of grain before cutting it. Which means that while I think I am doing a lot of really good work here, pinning this down and really taking care to make sure that it's going to be the best it possibly can be. Just for good measure, I'm pinning the middles too. But you see, even those pinning the middles is not going to stop the fact that the straight of grain on this is absolutely incorrect. But you see, I won't realize this for quite some time. So you might be thinking, Stephanie, why are you so stressed if this is only literally 3 seams and just a whole ton of binding? Well, that's because I chose to do the one with the trim. You know, the one that goes around and has a cute little bow in the front. Yeah, that's the one I want to do. Are there markings for any of that on this pattern? No! It does tell you how to do it in the instructions. Also, it wants you to stay stitch the entire edge of this hoe. Which, like, I actually think you really need to do that on this pattern. So I'm gonna have to do that too. So that's why I'm like, oh boy, I don't know how actually long this is gonna take. And try I sure did. I tried to ignore the fact that this thing was heckin' crooked. Right about here, folks, is where I realized that there was something very, very wrong. And yes, I did do a little tug to see if that could fix it. It could not. So listen, maybe I should have started with the middle. That all looks fine, right? 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 So now I gotta waste more time and repin that first half to match the middle, which is actually now on the straight of grain. I'm doing great. I mean, this tracks the walkaway dress too. It's fine. And listen, while there was a deep part of me that was like, but this is timed, you should just go, there is no way that it would have even remotely looked like a garment that, you know, wasn't cut crooked. So yes, I did have to fix it. Okay, my screw up is now completely fixed. Moving on to actually pinning this other part. And why in the hell? Okay, whatever. I don't care. I don't understand. That first one was off, so it's like all the rest of them were like, yeah, let's be off too. That's a great plan. Why do you have a big bubble in the middle of you? The first one was fine. The rest of these, what are they doing? What are they doing? I don't know. Is it going to be drastically shorter? Probably. Probably. But this weird foible I chalked up to the pattern probably not ironing out the way it was supposed to after having been in the envelope for almost 60 years.
It's been 84 years.
So I moved along. Oh. And don't judge the laundry behind me, but that's now pinned. And I think it's time to take a little break and probably change, because this dress was a poor life choice. And listen, that might have only taken me a little roundabouts of 10 minutes. But when I say that 10 minutes was all crawling on the floor and sweating because I was in a dress and that was silly. And this is a lot of hard work to do this because there was no way this was ever going to fit on any table that I own. So I think I'm going to go be a plank for a little bit before we keep going.
The next day.
Well, hello. Yes, I have changed. That's because I forgot that I'm old, and sometimes when you crawl on the floor, you throw your back out. So needless to say, it's the next day, and I am now ready to take on the rest of the cutting out, because I definitely forgot the pockets, which I'm absolutely going to have, and all the marking before I go to the sewing machine. But it wouldn't be this challenge if I didn't have my timer. So let's just go ahead and set this up here on the table right here, so that we can get started back on this project. Well, bam. Spare fabric. Whoa. And I think I only need this to be one way, I think. I don't think I need 4 pieces of pocket. Oh no, I do need 4 pieces of pocket because there's 2 pockets. Never mind, leave it folded. Pockets are, I just had them. They moved, the little buggers. Oldest tripod that I own. Okay. Yes, so I do cut 2 of these. And just like in my middle school dance, I got rid of the extra room for Jesus in between the 2 pieces. It'll fit if I go like that. And 2. It's wasting a little bit of fabric, but I'm not super duper concerned about it. And then once I had pinned around all of the pocket pieces, I had a very important reason to stop the clock. Boop. Now I can give him scritchies now that I'm not timing. Hi, we don't time the part with the scritchy for the boy. And now with that done, it took me exactly 31 minutes and 20 seconds to go ahead and cut everything out. So what that means now is once I fold this up and put it away, then it is time to go ahead and start marking all of those. Because the first rule of Scrap Club is you don't talk about Scrap Club. Now I will admit, even though that click of the pen was very satisfying, I actually did very little writing on these pockets with my heat erasable pen because, well, I took the cheater method, where instead of actually marking everything with a pen, I snipped a very small 1/4 inch notch along every line that I was supposed to be marking with my pen. And since this is a relatively easy design, it didn't get too confusing when I was looking at all the notches to sew it later. However, I did dive directly into marking all of my darts with the pen that gave the very satisfying click onto the garment itself. And I promise I only did the count a few times. 5. You know, for a person who doesn't like to sew darts, I chose a dress with a whole lot of them. Well, okay, they're all marked now. And now I just gotta go do the most stay stitching I've ever done in my entire life. But first I had to remove all of the pins. Boop. And if this is for some reason your first sewing video, hi, I'm glad you clicked on the Click Chaos. Stay stitching is something a pattern usually doesn't tell you to do, but you should do it on any curve. It basically entails making your stitch length the widest that your machine can handle and going around every single curvy edge, which in this case is the whole dress. And now we sew. Now I have to restart the timer. Boop. Huzzah! Oh, and to those of you who've always asked me, why don't I have a plate, like a top plate, the wide plate, this thing, I'll put it up in the corner here, on my machine, that's because my mother didn't own one, and so therefore I don't have it. And the only one I can find is on eBay for like $70. And you know what? I make plenty of garments just fine without it, so I'm not super concerned. Stay stitching so this garment doesn't curve out of whack. Seems kind of silly, but I'll do it because the instructions say so. And this is the part of the video where instead of making you listen to the sewing machine over and over and over again, I take a moment to thank the fabulous patrons and members that help make this channel possible. Because yes, folks, just like PBS, this content is sponsored by viewers like you. And if you want to join us, there's a join button here on YouTube, or you can pop on over to Patreon and join us over there. There is also an option for a yearly membership over on Patreon, which does give you a little bit of a discount when you pay in full for the whole year. One more time. And on top of extra videos, I also try and drop behind the scenes photos, extra little snippets, occasionally a free pattern, and usually a whole lot of really pretty images from the catalogs that I find in my vintage sewing pattern selling journey. Say that 3 times fast. But don't worry if you can't join us. Watching these videos, commenting, and sharing these with friends and families and fellow chaos sewists is always beneficial. And done. 53 minutes into this challenge, and I finally can start actually sewing the garment into a shape. Yep, that's just kind of how it goes. But now the trick with this is just because I have it done, like stay stitched, doesn't mean I know what these darts are gonna do. So I do have to pin all the darts just to see really what this garment is going to do when it's actually, you know, on a human form. And all I'm doing to do these darts is I find my 2 little notches and I'm lining them up so that I can see through one side and I can see that they're matching. And then I pin with my dot in the middle of the pin, and then I flip it to see if it's matching-ish, and that's how I do that. And then I just put in like 3 pins to try and guesstimate where the dart's gonna be. because again, it's just fabric. Darts can be moved and wiggled and jiggled where you actually want them to be. Okay, now let's put this thing on and see if I knew what I was doing. But first I gotta figure out, that's the back. And yes, I'm putting it with the darts out so that I have a prayer of a chance of adjusting this thing. Not super easy to get into when there's pins in it. I'm afraid I'm gonna stab myself. Ow. Why did I put the pin that way? That was silly. First up, those darts aren't even. Oh no, it's because the fabric was sitting weird. Okay. Darts aren't even close to right. Not even a little. That is like a solid 2 inches above where use the microphone. That's a solid 2 inches above where I need it. So I think I'm just gonna pivot things down. And pivot down I did. I started by marking the darts 2 inches lower on my bust, and then as I released these pins and the fabric from its pointy prison, it showed me that I had made the right call. You can see when I unpin it, it just wants to go there. So clearly that's the right answer. And then I got so distracted, I set the mic down. Because what I was looking at was the neckline was far too high, and I knew that since I was just going to be adding bias tape on top, that was actually where that was going to sit. So I knew I wanted to take it down. So I think I just want it just like a slight hair lower. I just want a slightly deeper neckline. And then with a couple pins installed to adjust the dart placement, it was time to look at how it fit. Although I will say this, I think I was right. I think I just needed that 1/2 inch at the front because like, look at that. That's basically what they wanted. And I think the back is, I don't actually care about the back. I think the back, what do you think? I think the back's fine. I am now 1 hour and 5 minutes with the slight adjustment period. And now I just need to transfer some notches and then I need to get sewing. So let's move over and do that. Boop. All right, I think it's time to sew some darts. Oh, I need my stopwatch. Hang on. Boop, now we go. Oh, gotta take out the pins at the shoulders first. I've been working on the railroad, chase my life away. God, when I dropped it on the floor. Oh, but I see it. The floor is not lava anymore. And every time I sew a dart, I always start at the largest part, back stitch, and then run my stitch down to the point. I do not back stitch at the point. I leave about 5 inches of thread off and tie like 2 or 3 knots, and then trim off the tails. And if you want a hot tip from me to you, make sure that when you are pinning your darts, that you actually pin most of them the same way in which you would remove them when sewing. Because otherwise, this happens. I love how I didn't pin any of these on the right side to actually sew them. It's still not pinned on the right side. Not nary one of these was sewn on the correct side. One more? One more. Huzzah! Still not pinned on the right side. Welcome to the chaos inside my brain, where at any given moment, at least 3 songs are on repeat in any particular section of my brain that when I access said section, that song goes along with it. This was today's shoulder seam time. Don't know why this is so short. It definitely didn't say to ease any of this crap. Also, you usually don't ease the front. You ease the back. Right? Crap. I need to look and check that before I do this. Hold, please. See that? It does not say to ease. It just says seam allowance and what direction you should sew. So, okay. And yes, I'll switch away from white after the shoulders. Bum, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Doesn't everyone just have random TV shows? Super old TV shows. Cartoons just like playing in their head at all times? No, just me? Cool. Oh, hey, that actually wasn't bad considering I didn't look at that at all. One shoulder together. Great, an hour and 24, and I now have darts and shoulder seams together. Usually this is the point where I would start, you know, also ironing all the bias tape so that it goes in the direction that I need it to. Can I sorta do that? Yes. What the problem is this one piece of bias tape is supposed to go all the way around the curvy bits. So like I could do the one big bottom section, or I could just say it's gonna be all right. But the one thing the instructions did say that was interesting was that you should take the thinner side of the bias and make sure that's on the right side, because they tell you just to top stitch this thing all the way around. They don't care. It's wild. So what that means, one, that means I don't gotta care as much. Love that for me. And two, hopefully then that means the backside will always catch and I won't have to hand sew giant spots that I miss. Again, not saying I've done that.
Sure, Jan.
Bias tape at the end is fine, but bias tape when you're installing it can be a pain in the tuchus. Pain in the tuchus. I feel like that dart is substantially larger than the others. Is what it is now. I mean, no, I could still fix it. I haven't done the actual sleeve yet. And with the darts all ironed, it was time for the most important question when looking at this garment. Now I gotta remember how to put this thing on. Once I had indeed discovered the way to put it on once again, it was time to truly look at what I had done, and well, one set of darts was kind of questionable. But you know what? For a tester garment to see how fast I can do it, this looks good. Gotta love when you go to pull the bias tape that you bought for the walkaway dress and haven't really used since then. And you're like, okay, so let's find the small side. Yeah, that's the exact same freaking same. So, go with God, we're gonna see what happens. How much bias tape can I apply before I go clinically insane? Let's find out. You're welcome. And yes, I did change to black thread. 'Cause I'm not that chaotic. Don't quote me on that. We're just gonna hope I can sew it better than I did the walkaway dress. Also, now that I'm doing this, it looks like Deanna Troy's colors. And with that chortle under my belt, it was time to lock in and make sure I put all that bias tape on the outside of this garment. Also, apologies for the random flashes. I'm pretty sure it's because one of my light bulbs is dying and that's what my camera is picking up. I am working on it, I promise. And done. At 1 hour and 51 minutes and 36 seconds, I have managed to get the bias on the entire exterior of this thing, which honestly is faster than I thought it was gonna be. But now I have to tackle the armholes, which that's never nearly as easy. And there's 3 of them! I'm not salty about that at all. Dearest gentle viewer, she was in fact very salty about that. Let's just do you the favor of jumping to when that is done in 3, 2, 1. And, well, it is done. And I did a quick try on. No, I'm not going to show you because that would give away basically most of the thing. The whole reveal would be in that moment. So I will say, I thought I was gonna do the version with the trim. No, I don't think anything can really save this in this moment. So I'm just gonna go with making it more functional than it currently is with the pockets I cut out. Boop. Pockets, 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 right. And now with 1/2 of each pocket, I am sewing it together along the middle seam. I did them like a quilter would do, where I butted them up right next to each other so that my thread waist would be much smaller. Then I made the big giant pleat and used my basting stitch to secure it while I did the rest of the pocket. And then from there I was instructed to turn in 1/4 of an inch along the pockets. And listen, they said to basting stitch them, I just did a straight stitch because I knew I was gonna put more bias on the edge of these pockets. I had also turned to the top of the pocket and done the same thing. Then it was time to attach the pockets to the dress and finally be done. done. That's right. It is all right here, ready to go. After, drumroll please, that's right. Did I get it done faster than 4 hours and 12 minutes? Sure did. 2 hours and 47 minutes, including a journey into trim that I didn't actually have to do. The bias around the pockets, that was just a me thing. Pattern didn't call for that, but I think it looks pretty cool. And I know you would like to see the reveal now. However, I just want to let you know that I will be in Chicago literally next weekend, April 30th through May 3rd at the Fiber, Fabric, and Craft Festival by H&H. And it is going to be all the information right here for you. I am teaching 3 classes. And if you would like to take any of them, if you're in the Chicago area, come on down, say hi. I am only teaching on the 30th and the 1st, and the other 2 days I will just be wandering about the show floor, hopefully running into some of you. As far as this garment goes, it is super odd, very fun. However, listen, it kind of has Deanna Troy coloring, which I do enjoy. However, I do not think it is going to be for me long term, since it basically reminds me of every hospital gown that I saw my mother wearing from the time that I was 5 years old until she moved forth from this earth. So it's not really a vibe for me, but it was a super fun challenge, putting a dress together with absolutely no closures. Do I think it could benefit from some snaps and hooks and eyes in certain places? Absolutely I do. But the instructions don't say to do that, so technically I'm still done. And if you want to upgrade your pearly white situation, you can make sure to click the link down below in my description and use my code Stephanie15 to get an extra 15% off of your Suri purchase. But now I've made you wait long enough, let's head on to the final reveal. Damn it, had wet threaded on it the whole time. Oh well. Thank God I was recording audio. I wasn't sure if I'd push the button. I'm really glad I didn't just touch that very hot iron. You tighten up. That's what she said. So that's why, oh my God, come undone. This is why I use new tripods. I'm so tired of being bitten by the old one.